Do you think there's a serial killer in Austin, Texas?
Is a serial killer stalking the city of Austin?
Oh, do y'all think there's a serial killer in Austin? Oh, yeah.
Is there a serial killer in Austin?
Serial killer in Austin, Texas.
Lady Bird Lake and the Rainey Street Ripper.
Over the last decade, dozens of bodies have been pulled from Austin's Lady Bird Lake, and as each case is added to the pile, speculation has grown. Rumors of a serial killer have begun to persist, even being given a sensationalized moniker, the Rainey Street Ripper. Austin police have been unable to quell these rumors, providing little comfort and few answers to the community. Despite this, Rainey Street hosts hundreds of people nightly. Its bars filled with music and drinks. The freshly built high-rises and hotels fill with new residents and visitors, with millions visiting the lake each year. If there is a killer, it isn't keeping people away. And as the bodies continue to be recovered from Lady Bird Lake, the serial killer narrative grows, with more and more outlets covering the story. Few have been willing to provide a counter-narrative to the killer theory, but there is a vexing and persistent lack of evidence pointing towards a killer. If this is the work of a serial murderer, we should know more by now. So let us examine this mystery with an open mind as we learn about Rainey Street and Lady Bird Lake. While we may call it Lady Bird Lake, the body of water is actually a reservoir that was established on the Colorado River, not the famous one, the one in Texas, when the Longhorn Dam was completed in 1960. Why is this important? Well, the water doesn't behave like one would expect from a typical lake. It has a current like a river, and those who aren't careful can be overtaken by it.
Without hesitation, I just jump in after, just full on swimming, and, next thing I know, I'm just being spun in the very center of the current, like I'm, swimming for my life and for Stella's life, of course.
In fact, concerns over safety led to the city making it illegal to swim in the lake in 1964 after the tragic deaths of two small girls.
Ollie Rendon was 8 years old when he witnessed his sisters slip beneath the water.
It's just heartbreaking, seeing her. I actually saw her go down.
The lake is rumored to have a whirlpool effect in some spots, but I have not found evidence to support this claim. Lake access is limited to human-powered boats like kayaks and paddleboards, and electric motorboats limited to 5-horsepower engines that tend to max out at 4 miles an hour. These vehicles are able to act as flotation devices in an emergency, making them much safer than simply swimming. That said, there have been incidents involving these recreational vehicles. In June of 2021, one of the low-powered motorboats with 4 people aboard drifted too close to Longhorn Dam, and having gotten caught in the river's current, nearly went over the dam to what would have been a 36-foot fall. They had to be towed to safety by rescuers. In 2020, a fisherman near the dam had to be rescued after becoming trapped by the water. In these and many other cases, Austin Emergency Services were able to save the people at risk. Sadly, that hasn't always been the case. 28-year-old Carlos Savio Pimenta Pajeda was paddleboarding with friends in May of 2014 when he got off his board and went into the water, never to resurface. A dive team recovered his body the following day. In 2016, Andrew David Schultz, a 33-year-old from Los Angeles, was paddleboarding with his girlfriend when he fell off his board and went into the water. He never resurfaced. Rescue crews spent nearly 7 hours searching before finding his body at approximately 9:20 p.m. Why do we find it so hard to believe that men who have been drinking and possibly drugged would fare any better than these men who were not? These are dangerous waters, and they will take your life. In September 2024, a 911 call was placed after a man who was described to have been behaving erratically went into the lake and did not resurface. The man was pulled from the water, and EMS attempted life-saving procedures prior to pronouncing the man dead a little over an hour after the 911 call was placed. I have to believe that if there were no 911 call, this man's body would have been found days later and would today be referenced as one of the supposed killer's victims. Sometimes conditions become so dangerous that the city will close the lake to all recreational activities. In 2019, it was due to an invasive blue-green algae that had killed several dogs that had been swimming in the lake.
A number of dogs that unfortunately passed away after swimming at Auditorium Shores and up at Redbud Isle. When we sampled algae that was present, we found the presence of this neurotoxin, and so we put up signage, closed some of the parks for the rest of 2019.
In 2014 and again in 2019, the lake was closed following a heavy rain that brought heightened currents and debris from runoff. The 2019 incident led to a man being killed after being swept away by storm waters at Shoal Creek, his body later being found in Lady Bird Lake. In 2018, the hike and bike trails along the lake were closed so that authorities could open floodgates following a storm. Some of the threats of Lady Bird Lake are hidden beneath the surface. In years past, little care was given to the debris that came from old bridges and other man-made structures. The floor of the lake is riddled with concrete, rebar, and other construction materials. In fact, when the river was initially dammed, many of these structures were simply flooded over, creating a dangerous, uneven riverbed that creates an unseen physical hazard to would-be swimmers and divers. In 2012, a man had his foot impaled on a piece of rebar, prompting a local news station to run a story as a warning to residents. Lady Bird Lake is not some safe, tranquil body of water. It will take lives, and being in or near the water while intoxicated is a significant risk. I want to take a moment here to talk about Tyler Oliveira's video on this subject. I know it's become a bit trendy to criticize his content, but this needs to be said. In his video, Tyler decided to run a little test by drinking 6 shots, letting some time pass, then walking down to the river and jumping in. There was one problem. Honestly, he could have avoided this problem in the edit and I'd have never seen it, but I can't unsee it. The purpose of drinking was to cause Tyler to become somewhat impaired.
We should officially, scientifically be technically intoxicated.
But on his way to the lake, he chose to gracefully hop over this fencing. He wasn't physically impaired. He may have been drunk, but not to the extent that it would allow him to demonstrate any difficulties an impaired person may have trying to survive in the lake.
There's no chance I would drown out here.
I'm in danger.
Also, Tyler deserved to get arrested for walking around in the street. If he wants to question police officers, which he has every constitutional right to do, he should watch some auditing videos and learn how to go about it. Rule 1, don't break the law in front of multiple cops when they've told you to get out of the road.
For what exactly? Oh, dang.
I want to take a moment to discuss the special case of Jason John. John's name is often brought up in connection to the Rainey Street killer, but he really shouldn't be. Jason John went missing in February 2023 after spending time drinking and enjoying himself on Rainey Street. It would be just over a week before his body would be found in Lady Bird Lake. Why would I say that he shouldn't be included in the talk about a killer? Because there was a witness. A transient saw Jason John stumbling about near the lake vomiting. When John stumbled into the water, the transient man went in after him, but he could not save him. He then ran to a nearby hotel and had the receptionist call 911. Austin NBC affiliate KXAN filed a request for the 911 call.
Hi, yes. I need a man to call in here saying that somebody just fell in the river. He's drenched. I guess he tried to save the person.
All I know is he was vomiting profusely and struggling to walk, stand up. He was heading towards the bank where it slopes down a little bit, and he was stumbling pretty fast. He may have landed 5 or 10 feet out into the water. Okay. By the time I got to the bank, he was a good 30 feet out.
Did you see him come back up, Chris?
No. I got right on top of where I believe he was. I slipped around in a circle with a stick. Then trying to feel around and find him. I couldn't find him.
How long ago did you pass him?
Probably 3 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago. As soon as I made it back to shore and got up on land, I ran straight up to the Holiday Inn. And they called you.
Following a second autopsy, John's body was found to have traces of GHB in his system, and this has been latched onto by some who support the killer theory. However, GHB is naturally produced by the human body, and this is not an indication that John had been drugged. The Journal of Analytical Toxicology published a study in which 387 corpses were studied for post-mortem GHB levels, with 82% of cases indicating a presence of GHB. The bodies chosen had no indication of exogenous use of GHB and were selected from a variety of causes of death. What happened to Jason John is tragic and proves that there need to be more safety precautions at Lady Bird Lake, but he was not attacked. In fact, the only stranger to come across him that night tried to save him. In this video alone, we have several examples of witnesses seeing people entering the water, only to fall victim to the lake, even when stone sober, even in the daylight. It shouldn't be that difficult to imagine what can happen to someone who is drunk late at night. If the lake is so dangerous, then why have so many deaths only occurred in just the last few years? What has changed to cause this uptick? Honestly, everything. This is a satellite image taken from Google Earth in 2010. What do you see? Well, trees. Shade trees in the yards of single-family homes. In 2005, the city was already beginning to respond to population growth. In an effort to account for all the incoming residents, the area known as Rainey Street was rezoned from residential to central business district.
Its modern transformation began in 2005 when it rezoned to match the city's central business district zoning. Despite the neighborhood's single-family vibe, its proximity to Austin's fast-growing urban downtown in the midst of a tech boom has attracted developers.
Over time, the homes were purchased and redeveloped into a commercial nightlife area surrounded by high-density, high-rise residential buildings and hotels. To show how much the area has changed, this map makes it look like every home was replaced by a bar. Let's take a look at this growth. This is the Fairmont, a hotel that opened in 2018 with 1,048 rooms. The Quincy, a residential high-rise with 347 units, opened in 2021. Hotel Van Zant, 360 rooms, opened in 2015. The Shore Condominiums, 192 units, opened 2008. The list goes on. The Rainey Street District has added thousands of residents and tourists to this small area, along with a thriving nightlife scene complete with flowing alcohol. And developers are continuing to add more.
Did you know that there's over $2 billion in developments coming to Rainey Street? Here's everything you need to know. There are 5 new buildings under construction and 1 that finished this summer.
This image was posted in May 2024 by Reddit user LoFiJ731 and shows the construction that was underway at that time. With all of this within walking distance of the lake, it should come as no surprise that there is a vast statistical difference in the number of drownings compared to the period before all of this development. I have to bring up 2 incidents that occurred at Shoal Creek along Austin's 6th Street, as these tend to be lumped into discussions of the Rainey Street Ripper. In December 2018, the body of Randy Lexvold was found drowned in Shoal Creek by the West 6th Street Bridge, his body covered in bruises, scrapes, and with multiple broken bones from the approximately 25-foot fall. Lexvold was visiting Austin to cheer on his daughter in a swim meet at the university. His last known location was the rooftop. According to his credit card activity, he had made a purchase at the bar at 10:30 p.m. and was found dead the following morning at 8:30 a.m. A toxicology report indicated that in addition to the alcohol in his system, he had also ingested diphenhydramine, an antihistamine found in over-the-counter allergy medicines such as Benadryl. Diphenhydramine is a central nervous suppressor, and when combined with alcohol, can be extremely dangerous, causing drowsiness, dizziness, impairment of coordination, and an increased risk of falls. In June 2023, Jeff Jones was in Austin for a bachelor party, and during a night of revelry where he was drugged with benzodiazepine, a class of sedatives that includes Rohypnol, commonly referred to as roofies, Jones would become separated from his friends only to wake up 2 weeks later in a hospital room. He had been found and reported to 911 at 4 a.m. lying on a path adjacent to Shoal Creek, below the West 6th Street Bridge. In the fall, he had broken a shoulder, elbow, 2 ribs, and 7 vertebrae, his back being held together with metal rods and screws, having undergone spinal fusion surgery during his coma. Thankfully, he did survive and is recovering, though he still has some physical limitations. Jones has come out and said that he believes he survived being attacked by the serial killer, believing he was pushed from the bridge, but sadly there is no evidence to support this. He has no memory of that evening or the events that transpired prior to being separated from his friends, and he stopped responding to their messages at approximately 1:30 a.m. But how would 2 otherwise healthy men happen to fall off this bridge? Frankly, with the combination of sedatives and alcohol in their systems, it would be rather easy. Allow me to show you why. This is an image of the south side of the West 6th Street Bridge via Google Street View. While it is difficult to determine the exact height of the wall, we can approximate based on the parking meter. This is a video from the city of Austin demonstrating the new meters, and this woman standing next to it gives us a sense of its height. I believe it is fair to say that this wall is about 3 to 4 feet tall, and may be difficult to stumble over. But now let's swing around and look at the north side of the bridge. This is considerably less safe. We even have the benefit of seeing these 2 pedestrians in the Google Street View image. While we do not know the height of this man closest to the rail, Lexvold was 6'1", and Jones is 6'3", both above average height. With that low rail, and both men carrying a higher center of gravity, while likely struggling to maintain balance under the effects of alcohol and sedatives. It is easy to imagine they stumbled over the rail and fell 2.5 stories to the ground or creek below. And I am not the only one who believes that this rail is unfit for protecting pedestrians, as shown by the fact that in the summer of 2024, the city of Austin replaced this railing with a taller stone parapet, as well as plans to add lighting at street level and under the bridge as part of a restoration project. Finally, this bridge is not particularly close to Rainey Street. It is over a mile away as the crow flies, nor is it part of the famous and rowdy East 6th Street, though Jones and his party did begin their night there at the Iron Cactus before moving to the Rustic Tap, and then play on West 6th, approximately a block and a half from the bridge. This is an area that, while there are bars, is not known as a night spot. In fact, the bridge is about a block away from Whole Foods Company headquarters and flagship store. But because of the sensationalism surrounding this rumored killer, these Shoal Creek incidents have been tied to this case, despite having very little in common. What is it about Austin and Town Lake that is allowing these incidents to occur? If these are accidental deaths of drunk and/or drugged men, wouldn't we see a similar pattern near other lakes and bodies of water?
Definitely something going on. I mean, how many other cities have like 13 dead bodies floating around in the river? Like, probably not that many.
The numbers coming out of Chicago are actually much worse than Austin, with dozens of drowning deaths occurring each year. In 2 cases from 2023, Chicago police were able to review surveillance footage showing the men entering Lake Michigan alone. They were not dumped, nor were they forcibly put in the water by anyone. From 2010 to 2022, over 1,100 drownings have been reported in the Great Lakes, with Lake Michigan having the highest count. I must admit, I do not know how lake deaths are attributed to the surrounding cities or states, as the lake's shoreline borders 4 different states, but Chicago drownings also include those outside the lake, including the Chicago River. And like Austin, Chicago has its own rumors of 1 or more serial killers. In fact, the supposed smiley face killer is believed to be tied to these deaths. Also, like Austin, there just hasn't been enough evidence to solidly make that claim. Across the pond in Manchester, England, in the wake of over 80 deaths since 2008, there has been a rumor of a serial killer dubbed the Manchester Pusher. The primary difference we see in Manchester is that it is not a lake that we are talking about, but a series of canals where the victims are believed to have been pushed from bridges to the water below. And the rumors have been somewhat validated. In 2018, a man was cycling home after dark when he was knocked into the water by an unknown assailant, but was able to pull himself out following a struggle. In November 2024, a couple, Peter Snowden and Wesley Fellows, were mugged by a group of 4 men while walking to their hotel after spending an evening on Canal Street in the Gay Village area of Manchester, a place they had previously spent time and had always felt safe. They believe they were targeted due to their dress, as they had attended a black tie event and Wesley was wearing a 15,000-pound Rolex. The pair had changed into more casual garb prior to visiting Canal Street, but Wesley still had on his watch. The attackers had been lingering in the area the entire evening and attacked when it was most opportune for them. Wesley's Rolex was stolen and the men bruised and bloody, but they were able to walk away. This map shows their route from Canal Street on the bottom left to their hotel on the upper right. That entire path ran along the water. Imagine the same scenario I described, but with a person walking alone. It is not hard to imagine a similar mugging turning into murder when, accidentally or otherwise, the victim gets knocked off the bridge into the canal. Additionally, there are known accidents, which has prompted the residents to begin petitioning for safety barriers. Such a barrier has been put in place where Charles Pope, a 19-year-old university student, slipped into the canal while drunk.
It's got to be the last, because nobody should have to go through this. There's no need for it. I wanted to see the canal, I wanted to see what had happened to try and understand it, and it's just scary. There's not a barrier in sight.
In addition to intoxication, snow and ice are believed to have been a contributing factor.
The widespread reporting understandably raised concerns amongst the local community. However, there is no evidence to indicate a killer or canal pusher is responsible. Those people who have fallen in and either climbed out or have been rescued have not reported anyone leading them to the water or following them and pushing them in.
The Manchester deaths have too many variables involved to comfortably attribute any one cause to all of these incidents, but those variables also suggest that a serial killer is not responsible for the bodies in the canals. Lake Lanier in the northern part of Georgia doesn't have any rumors of a serial killer, but it does have its own mystery. The lake is a popular destination for recreation, receiving over 10 million visitors per year, but has seen a fair bit of tragedy with an estimate of over 500 deaths since its construction in the 1950s and over 200 in the last 30 years. In order to build Lake Lanier, the government purchased land from approximately 700 families, essentially purchasing the entire town of Oscarville. Once a thriving black-majority town filled with freed blacks who had survived slavery and fought in the Civil War, Oscarville had lost population over time as racial tension and violence persisted, causing families to move from the area. Oscarville now sits below the waters of Lake Lanier with rumors that the town's cemetery may not have had its bodies relocated. The disturbed dead are believed to now haunt the lake, pulling the living down to join them in the water's depths. Of course, the historical records and evidence that exists to this day suggest that the bodies were relocated to neighboring cemeteries, but the legends persist. There is an episode of the Netflix series Files of the Unexplained that covers the stories of Lake Lanier, should you be interested in more information. When people are found in bodies of water at any consistent rate, rumors will begin to spread. While it may be making the headlines right now, Austin is not unique. Deaths occur in and around water the world over, and sometimes people will find theories to explain the deaths, even if there isn't much evidence to back the claims. With all of these deaths centralized in a single location and a lot of rumors swirling, the citizens have repeatedly asked the same question. Where's the Austin Police Department, and what are they doing about this? This is a completely valid concern. If there is a killer, we would hope that APD would be out there trying to identify and apprehend a suspect. Even if they believe these deaths are not the work of a serial killer, the Austin Police Department could be doing so much more to let the citizens and visitors know why they believe that. However, the Austin Police Department is a shell of its former self. In August 2020, in the wake of the George Floyd protests and nationwide calls to defund the police, the Austin City Council did just that, slashing the department's budget by 1/3.
Austin had one of the biggest cuts to their police budget in the country.
The department has never recovered, with a reported shortage of 330 officers as of July 2024. This means that when the people of Austin need police, response times will take longer or be non-existent. It also means fewer officers for standard patrols and less availability to provide a presence in what has clearly become a dangerous area. There should probably be both uniformed and plainclothes officers on and around Rainey Street on a near-nightly basis. The council has passed a resolution for safety improvements, including fencing and lighting, but more needs to be done. The area has become unsafe. But while the budget is not the concern that it was in 2020, the city is currently in a position where very few want to join the Austin Police. And frankly, the more the public vilifies the department, the less likely someone will want to join the APD. It's become a bit of an Ouroboros.
I'm Ouroboros.
After sifting through videos and news articles, I have come to one conclusion. There is one common thread that appears to be a major contributor to the harming of bar and club patrons: drink spiking. If we are to save lives and protect innocent people just looking for a night of fun, we have to find a solution to the number of drinks that are spiked with roofies and other similar drugs.
That's when I looked at her and, are you going to finish that drink? She goes, no, I don't want it anymore. I was like, well, I didn't want to waste $8. So I grabbed the drink and I just swung it. I took a big swig. Everything was fine. We talked for a few more minutes at the bar, and 5 minutes later, I swear, I wish I could tell you what happened. I don't remember anything.
And this isn't limited to Austin. College Station, home to Texas A&M, Kansas City, Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, Los Angeles, Manchester, Cape Cod, Reykjavik, Boston, Nashville, Penn State, Chicago, and myriad other cities worldwide. I knew a couple who were drugged. Feeling the effects kicking in, they got out, took an Uber, and passed out shortly after arriving home. Many are not so lucky. A drugged individual is susceptible to assault, robbery, kidnapping, or yes, murder. Thankfully, we are starting to see a response to this problem. In July 2024, a new California law took effect that requires establishments with a beer, wine, and spirits license to sell or provide free of charge drug testing strips and have signage that indicates that these tests are available. Please note that these strips are available for anyone to purchase and can be found on Amazon. In addition to test strips, other products have been brought to market seeking to prevent drink spiking. In 2019, a 16-year-old named Shira came up with a rather simple design for a reusable and versatile drink cover. Her brother Michael, who had just graduated college, chose to join her in this venture, and after some refinement, a bit of seed money from their parents, and a successful crowdfunding campaign, Nightcap was in business. In 2021, the siblings would appear on Shark Tank, striking a deal with Lori. Today they offer a variety of drink protection products including stickers and bottle caps, offering protection to a broad range of drinking vessels. I'm rooting for these guys, and we'll have a link to their website in the description below. But the Nightcap products aren't perfect protection. Vigilance is mandatory. Everyone must look after themselves, their friends, and let's face it, strangers. This is a problem that will require a community-based solution, and that sucks because people go out to have fun and let loose. These establishments themselves need to accept a level of responsibility.
Unfortunately, we do have staff members who've had these type of situations happen at other bars.
They need to be willing to share security footage with law enforcement and do their best to protect their patrons. And I hope this video has made it clear that this issue isn't solely targeting women. Men are being drugged and victimized too. So to the men watching this, please be cognizant of this issue. It doesn't matter how tough or intimidating you may be. If you get drugged, you're as helpless as anyone. While I've done my best to provide evidence counter to the popular narrative surrounding the Rainey Street Ripper, there is one problem with this video. I can't provide definitive proof.
There's no proof.
Having said that, neither can the proponents of the serial killer theory. Because of this, rumors will continue to spread. Initially, I was fascinated with the idea of a killer, but almost all of the coverage of this case is supportive of the killer theory, often with little more than lip service given to any other possibility. I wanted to provide a contrarian position, and as I dug deeper, I began to truly believe that there is no killer. But because of the lack of conclusive evidence, I remain open to the idea. I am expecting a lot of criticism and resistance to this video. All I ask is that you give the evidence a fair evaluation. I do believe we could save lives through lighting and surveillance with patrols and cameras. The city of Austin and the police force could both do more. That is something that we can all agree with. Thankfully, there has been movement in that direction. The drugging problem needs more attention. It's become a global problem. Let's not stigmatize those who choose to protect their drinks, and please look out for yourself and those around you. If you have gotten this far, thank you, and stay safe out there.